Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Scott, and welcome to Entrepreneur Empire. Today, I have an extraordinary guest with me, the CEO, Mr. Troy Woods. And he has graced us with his presence to talk about his company, his success stories, and how he was able to accomplish his dream. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on here today. How are you doing, Mr. Troy?
I am well. I am well. I'm happy to be here and share my story. Um, it's it's a story that doesn't have a straight path. So I just want to let everybody know that sometimes to get to your goals, it's not always a straight path.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Um, so how would you describe the responsibilities of your role?
Well, my main responsibility, believe it or not, is to my team. Um, I want to make sure that we are in an inclusive environment, a motivating environment, a safe environment, a creative environment, an
Mm,
inspirational environment. You do all those things, they will work hard and make your customers successful. So, my philosophy is being a coach, being a mentor, being a cheerleader, roadblock remover,
mm,
and trust my team. And that's important, right? Um, get your team to a point where they're self-sufficient. You trust them, and I have no doubts. So when my team members tell me things, I believe it. There's no doubt in my mind what they're saying is the gospel. So building that kind of environment is paramount in my mind to business success.
mm.
Period. Is it is. I mean, you've seen companies where they've done slick things, and you know, and and, and they might make some money for short term, but I think long term, you want to create that safe space, that creative space, that trusting space for your teams.
Yes, yes, I believe that. Um, Even with great resumes and cover letters, new candidates can lack the necessary skills or techniques. What do you think are the most important traits to look for when you look for new employees?
So for me, it kind of dovetails on my previous statement. So I look for honesty and integrity. I look for passion. I look for willingness to learn. So you may come on board not have all the technical skills, but if you're willing to learn, open your mind, I can work with you. You can be trained, you can learn, right? So you can do those things. I want somebody that is going to speak truth, is not afraid of it, um, and actually demands it, right?
Mm,
So those are the types of things that I look at. Can that person work independently? Can that person work in a team? How does that person handle adversity, right? So one of the things that in our line of business, Denise, is when we deal with complex problems that a customer has in solving them. So sometimes the situation can be intense, right? It can be intense. So I need somebody that is even keeled, has good listening, active listening skills, and when they respond, they're not responding to respond. They respond to understand, right?
okay.
Get more information, understand the context, right? So people with what they call soft skills, I don't look at them as soft
Mm,
skills. I look at them as essential skills.
ye-
So people with that, I'll take first.
yes, yes. I truly believe in that. Soft skills, life skills, there's not enough of that going around in today's with today's generation. Um,
Correct.
And I think that it's very, very important. And I didn't want you to give away your secret because we did talk earlier about how you hire, and I didn't want you to tell that part. I just wanted you, to explore more on the hiring process. So um, because that was really, really interesting what our conversation was about, when what you told me.
Yeah, so I'll expand on that, Denise. So a couple of things that I do. So you heard me talk about honesty, integrity, and how people work. So oftentimes in interview processes, I might say, "Hey, meet a candidate at a cafe or something like that," and I'm there early. I'm quite punctual. I think it's my military background. so I'm usually there early. So what I'll do is I'll see the candidate come in, and I'll have the waiter take them to a different table, and I'll wait for 10-15 minutes, and I want to see their demeanor when they think no one is looking, that I'm late. I want to understand, how are they handling that, right? What is their demeanor? What is their mindset? Are they getting irritated? Are they impatient? And I think people don't understand what patience is. I think patience is not just waiting; it's also the mindset and the
While you're
behavior you
waiting.
have while you're waiting. Yeah. And so I look at those types of things because, as I mentioned earlier, we deal with complex problems for our customers, solving these complex business problems and technical problems. So I need somebody that can handle, ambiguity, that can handle um, conflicts or differences of opinion, that need to be patient, right? And those types of things. So I observe those, and then I'll introduce myself, and we'll talk a little bit. So if I see that you're agitated and fussy or fuss with the waiter, sometimes I'll have the waiter just do something to see how you're going to react to that person. What the waiter is doing, then I'm observing those things. So I know it's unconventional in terms of interviewing people, but what I find is when no one thinks you're watching,
Mm,
that's when they're their true selves.
yes, that's a unique
So that's
process.
what I want to see, who you are. Yeah. And I want to see you. I don't want to see this facade. I don't want to see the person on the resume, because you could be anybody on the resume. I want to see you. Let me see you, because you'll see me. You know, I'm 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 just open about things and making sure that we can be successful. So one of my philosophies is, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be your coach, your cheerleader, those types of things. But I also expect you to perform, and also expect you to have some self motivation.
Mm, yes, 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 yes. That is a good one. Um, Tell us a little bit more about your company and how you got started and why you chose this field.
It's probably more the field chose me. Back
Mm,
in, I was a nerd growing up. Elementary school, middle school, sci-fi geek, and that kind of thing. So I was always interested in science and technology, and I had this vision of having this super awesome technology company called Wood Technology Incorporated. Just some crazy stuff.
mm. Okay.
And throughout undergraduate school, that I talked about it, and so after I graduated high school, I actually joined the army. I was airborne infantry, so I wanted to fight. I wanted to be in that, and so I had a kind of a convoluted story. So after I got out of the army, I worked for a shipbuilding company. So I was in propulsion systems engineering, more around the computer and robotics pieces of it. And I thought that was interesting. The technology we were working on was like incredible, right? And then I got into consulting. I happened to go to a job fair for veterans, and got introduced to a company, Pro Systems, back in the day, and I got into consulting. And That did it for me because, oh my gosh, not only did I get to work with awesome technology and even create technology, I got to be in the guts of businesses. I mean, large businesses, understanding not just the technology piece, but how does the technology support the business? How does it impact the business? So I didn't have any of the business skill. I had the technical skill, and that was just phenomenal. And so, I worked for different companies, and I told my wife, I'm gonna start my own company. And one day she told me, put up or shut up.
Ooh, okay.
So I started next Yep. So I started NexTier Innovations, and what I did there is, still working full time, so it was a side hustle. I had some customers, building different things, and for um, a little over 3 years, I didn't take any kind of paycheck or anything like that. I was just working to build it, and then got to a point where I had my first employee and moved on and on and on and on. And so I'm giving you the abbreviated version because there's a whole lot in between there. One of the things that lessons I learned out there is um, a couple of things that I will say. You have to have a vision. To be honest with you, when I started next year, I didn't have a vision because it started out as a side hustle. Um, but over time, Denise, I figured out what the vision's going to be. I figured out what next tier needs to be, and then I started crafting that, working towards that. And one of the things that we do, we are employee centric, which leads us to be customer centric.
Mm,
And I know that probably sounds counterintuitive, but again, if you create an environment for your employees to thrive, they will help your customers thrive. You got a happy customer, happy employee,
employee.
that translates into a happy customer because they'll go above and beyond. And so, we get into areas of technology not because it's sexy or cool or just the latest trend. We get into it because it's actually going to add value to our customers. So, um, AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, for example. We got in that not because it's the next big thing. It's because a lot of our customers had volumes of data they didn't know what to do with. So AI and machine learning allowed us to, use that data in a more intelligent way to help our customers make better decisions and make better decisions for their customers. That's why we got
Mm,
into it because it added value, not because it was the latest trend. It was cool. Same thing with data analytics and so on, right? So we look for meaningful things to do to add value to our customers. And one thing I will say, entrepreneurs out there, do not cheapen your brand. That's a lesson I learned early on. You know, just you don't need to be the cheapest person on the block to get business. What you need is the expertise, the high quality, and then people will come to you. Okay, and we've got it to a point, Denise, where a lot of our customers will have a line item in their annual budget for us, whether we do work for them or not. Right? We follow through on what we say. We do what we say. And then one example I can share with you was, we had a customer that needed us to asked us to do some work that we didn't have any expertise in. So instead of me taking on that work, I told the customer, hey, look, we don't have expertise in there, but we can help you find another business partner that has that expertise. And we did that. And the customer was shocked, like, oh, yeah, I passed up on the money and that opportunity because I'm a trusted advisor to my customer. So I didn't, my team and I didn't have expertise in that particular area. So we helped the customer find a business partner. Now, did we go learn that area? Yes, we did, because we saw opportunities where other customers could use, that domain expertise. So we went out and learned it. And so, and that's another thing I want to touch on, like learning. I mentioned earlier, when I look at hiring, bringing people on board, I want lifelong learners. So I provide the opportunity, whether it's LinkedIn Learning, whether it's Code Academy, any of those tools, learning tools, my entire team has access to it. So we're constantly learning, evolving, and figuring out how can we add value to our customers. So then our customers can add value to their customers. So that's the mindset. So I hope that answers your question. I know I was
Yes, yes,
long
yes.
winded
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. No, no. That was going to be another one of my questions. What tips could you give to the listeners and the audience um, about starting up a business and what risk not to take or to take? Because sometimes we don't want to take those risks and sometimes we
Yeah,
need
I
to.
say yeah, I would say, one is you got to be ready. So, I had a full-time job while I started this. So if you have a significant other or a spouse, you need to have that honest conversation with them, because you there could be some income issues there, right? Um, so you want to have that honest conversation. Um, you want to minimize your cash outlay as much as possible, but still maintain that quality when you're starting off, right? If you don't need office space, don't get it. you know, if don't get office space if you don't need it, right? At this particular juncture, and understand the market you're getting into, understand who the players are, and then ask yourself, what am I offering that they can't get elsewhere, right? You don't want to suffer from the blue and orange syndrome, and I'll explain what that is.
Yes, please.
So, without naming the companies, the blue is a big box store that sells home supply materials, and the orange is their competitor. So both sell pretty much the same thing, pretty much the same price, pretty much the same service. So it's a toss up of why you go to one over the other. They're in the same market doing the same thing. When the blue store does something, the orange store will copy it. The orange store does something, the blue store copies it. So I go to the orange store only because it's closer. So
Mm.
I don't want that to be my business model, right? That you just come to me because I'm 2 miles closer, right? That's scary. That's scary. But if you go to the red and white store, I go there when I need expertise or have questions or something that I'm not familiar with. So when I go into the red and white store, I'm greeted. I'm
Mm.
at, how may I help you? And I tell them what I need. They take me, instead of just telling me it's on aisle 30, they take me to aisle 30, bay 14, to whatever,
You're next.
to whatever I need. If I have questions about how to do something, so if I haven't, done something, um, they have the expertise to guide me on those. I don't get that at the blue or orange store, right? So why do I go to the red and white store the most? Because of that. They have discriminators that distinguishes them from competition. And to be honest with you, I don't think they have competition.
Mm.
you know,
Okay.
and that's the other thing I want to touch on. When you're starting off, and even as you're growing your business, I don't have any competitors. From my perspective, I don't have competitors. Now, there might be people out there who look at us as a competitor, but I'm not worried about what they're doing, right?
Mm.
I don't even care what they're doing. I ignore them. And you might ask, hey, that's counterintuitive. I said, no, we have a vision and we're following that vision, right? And so we're doing things to achieve that vision. We're constantly talking to our customers, right? What they need, where would they like to go, what is their next level, right? So we have those conversations with our customers frequently. Sometimes we'll have a round table and they'll come at us with a whole bunch of things, and then we look at it and say, hey, is this part of our vision? Yeah. So we might start going learning this area that a customer mentioned. So we don't worry. That's why we don't have competition. We're not I'm not worried about what this company over here is doing or this company over here is doing, right? Because when you do that, you're taking off your path.
Mm.
You are taking off. So the only competition we have is us. How can we do better tomorrow than we did today? That's what I look at. That's what I look at. How can we innovate on purpose? And how can we innovate with meaning, right? Not just innovate to be innovating, but true innovation, right? So so if you look at if you look at phones, for example, when the iPhone came out, that was a true innovation, right? It was a reinvention. It was a true innovation. But everything since then has not been innovation.
Okay.
It has not
Re-
been innovation, right? In the true sense of the word, right? It's just I added some features, right? I've added this feature. Well, Samsung has that too. Oh, I added this feature. You know, Google has this feature too. So it's not innovation. The innovation was the smartphone. That when you went from regular phone to a smartphone, that's the innovation, right? So what is next? You know, I can tell you, Amazon actually had a brilliant idea. It didn't take off. They had their Fire phone, which was actually a 3D phone. That was innovation. It didn't take off. It didn't do well, right? But it was amazing because they took a phone at that time. I think it came out what 2011 or 12, somewhere around there, maybe even 13, 2013. It was just so radically different. And I think that's what killed it because it was so radically different,
Different.
right? And so by then the iPhone had taken hold. So uh, it was such an incredible innovation to have a 3D phone, right? And the screen was 3D and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't work out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I say all that to say is, you know, just adding a feature to something that's already existing is not always innovation. Innovation to me is you're doing something so radically different and it has value, right? It has value. And then it has purpose, it has utility, those types of things. That's what innovation is.
Mm. Thank you.
That's
Thank
why
you
it's in
for
our
that.
name.
Yes, yes, that is nice. Um, w- what do you believe are the secrets to success?
Perseverance. Um, Perseverance, understanding the market that you're playing in, and then really spending time with your customers or potential customers to understand what do they actually need, right? You know, there are a lot. I'll use this example. There are a lot of candle businesses out there, and it's great. And I'm like, okay, so why would I buy your candle over somebody else's candle? What's different about yours? What value is it going to add to me? So I met this black woman entrepreneur who had a candle business. A couple of things she did. She had a she innovated on her candles. They're all organic, right? And then number two, she had some really interesting scents. The container that the candles came in, the bottom of the glass was extra thick, right? So as the candle burned down, it wouldn't the glass wouldn't explode. And then she had a smokeless wick. So all
Mm.
of those things, that was innovation, right? That was innovation. That's why I bought several of her candles and I use them today. So she understood, she took time. These were well crafted, it was well thought out. She thought about, okay, I'm using glass and, you know, I, and she figured out, yeah, I have to have the bottom of the glass, the container, to be thicker. So as the candle burns down, it won't break the glass. She figured out that, okay, a lot of candles you light, there's smoke coming out. She figured out, okay, I'm gonna use a smokeless wick. I mean, like that's amazing, right? And then she did different scents, right? All these natural. She did the natural scents, and they're not overpowering, and they're subtle, but they smell good and make you feel good. So she
Mm.
figured those things out, right? She saw what was wrong with other candles, whether you go to, a chain store or things like that. She took the time to research, and she talked to different people. And she was telling me one of the main complaints was the smoke from candles,
Mm.
right? So she figured out how to have a smokeless um, wick. So those are the types of things that you have to do as an entrepreneur. You got to understand the market you're playing in. You got to understand what do my customers need? What are they looking for, right? And do you actually need to compete with people in that market, right? And one of the things that we did when NexTier started, we looked at things that other companies weren't doing. Fill in that gap, and that's where we played. And that's where we played. We did things other people weren't doing. So figure that out. Figure that out. Whether you're selling candles, whether you have a salon, right? In your salon, if I owned a salon, I had this vision for a salon. Man, you'd get wine. You I mean, you'd be pampered, right? It'll be so amazing. You could get cucumber sandwiches. You could do that versus your traditional salon. Same thing with a barbershop. If I owned a barbershop, not only would you get a haircut, but as a man, you can get a facial, right?
Mm.
Facials actually started in barbershops. Get a facial, get a head massage, different things like that. So get that personal experience. Get shade shave. Oh my gosh! So how do you differentiate yourself from others, right? So that you don't have competition
Mm.
and you're still following your vision.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll say this: do not borrow money if you cannot pay it back. Do
I hope you guys
not
heard
borrow
that one.
money if you can.
That is a very, very good one.
Yep.
Um,
And I would suggest, if it's possible, keep your full time job and do it as a side hustle until you can get money. It can be self funding,
yes.
but that's going to depend on your business, obviously.
Um, was there a time in the beginning of your career um, that there was a struggle, and how did you persevere through the hard times?
Yeah, it was a struggle almost from the beginning. And like I said, in the beginning, I didn't have a clear vision. I was kind of all over the place, to be honest with you, Denise. And it was frustrating. I had a full time job, family, things like that. So I was taking time away from them to do this. My wife was supportive, and I appreciate that. And I felt guilty, right? I'm not gonna lie, I felt guilty, and I kept asking myself, "Is this a pipe dream? Is this gonna happen?" And then there was a point where I think in year two, I almost gave up. I just didn't put any effort into it. And I was gonna abandon it, and then I happened to get a contract. I happened to get a contract, and
Hard
then
work pays off.
that renewed me because yeah, and part of it was, so you have to be ready. I think a lot of people have this fantasy about running a business. Running a business is a 7 day a week job. It really is, right? And you have to put in the work. So that's why I say, with your spouse or your significant other and with your family, you need to have that honest conversation, because it's going to occupy a lot of your time, and
Mm,
you've got to be willing to put it in. And the first 3 years or so, it was a hard work-life balance. It was difficult. So, but you got to go in knowing and understanding those types of things, and you got to persevere. There are going to be days where you just feel like, oh, I'm like, honeybee, I give up, honeybee. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, right? And you got to have that cheerleader in your corner, and she kept me moving. And to me, it wasn't a motive. Money wasn't a motivating factor. And that might sound counterintuitive. I wasn't in it to to get the dollars. I was in it to put something fantastic out in the market. I was doing it so that people understand that we black folks, we're badass. Pardon my expression there, right? That we can do it. That we love technology, and that we can do it. We can build it. We can invent it. We can do those things. So it was more that motivation than, right. It wasn't the dollars. I was patient enough, and I had examples. Retired from the army. He had a paint supply store. My dad's brother, my uncle, he was a serial entrepreneur. So I saw what they did, and I saw what they didn't do. Right. So it's all about patience, having a clear vision, which, like, early on, I didn't have a clear vision, and then understanding your purpose. Why are you doing this? So it can't just be about the money. If it's just about the money, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do dumb stuff. I promise you, you will do dumb stuff. So make it about, I'm putting a brilliant product and service out in the market. That's what I'm doing. I'm helping my customers. I'm showing them black folks can do this. Have that to be your motivation. Don't just have it be dollars. Because when it's just dollars, you're going to cut corners. Dollars. You're not
mm.
going to put in the effort, right? You're not going to take care of your team. You're not going to take care of your customers. So just
Thank
don't
you.
always make it about the money. Be profitable, but don't make it always about the money.
Thank
And
you.
here's one thing that I'll say: watch your expenses. I had a friend of mine. Well, I wouldn't say he was a friend. Is somebody I knew, colleague. He started a business. He went and bought a big old BMW and all that stuff. And he was spending money on that big old house, 5,000 square foot house. And I'm like, okay, all that money. And then he paid himself handsomely. And I thought, all that money that you're putting out, you could be putting back into your business. And then he went out of business. I'm not gonna front. He went out of business. So be frugal in the beginning. Watch your expenses. Don't buy anything. And then I mentioned about loan. Don't borrow any money that you cannot pay back. Instead, go for a line of credit, because all you do with a line of credit is you pay a probably $10 $15 monthly maintenance fee, and then you only pay back what you use. So if you got $100,000 line of credit, great. And then if you only spend 20, you're only responsible for paying back the 20, right? If you borrow $100,000, you got to pay the whole $100,000 back. So look at a line of credit and get a business credit card. And then, but when you get a business credit card like American Express, we use American Express. They have wonderful tools, and this is not necessarily an endorsement of American Express. They just have some wonderful tools. I can track all my expenses and things like that. But um, you can set a budget, set budgets, right? If you don't know how to set a budget, take a class at the local community college. They have budgeting classes. You got to learn how to manage your money. And I would also advise people take an intro to accounting class as well, and an intro to finance class. And you can take those at your local community college for a couple $100, and it's worth it. And
Thank you.
so keep track of all your expenses, minimize them, um, and pay yourself when you are able to pay yourself. Right? Don't give yourself a big salary out of the gate. Put your money, reinvest your money back into the company. I know it's tempting. It's tempting, y'all. It is tempting. But if you want to grow your business and you wanted to have it sustainable, right? You got to invest in it.
Thank you for that.
So I apologize for being long-winded.
It is okay. I like to say you can't if you want success, you have to it's just like cooking something. It really is. You have to take the time, you have to prepare it. You don't want microwavable success because it's not going to last long. And that's something that
Exactly. Oh, that's a
yeah,
great analogy. Exactly.
yeah, I'm learning.
Because you get that microwave success, yeah, it gets
Like
hot, but
those
it gets
one
dried
song
out.
hit,
Yeah. Yep.
those one
And
hit
just
wonder
have a
songs.
plan and execute your plan. And I would say also be willing to adapt and change to the market, because the market will change, right? Um, you know, I'm seeing different things happening, around the market. So you have to adapt and, um, you know, do I would say do a 12-month plan, but then also continue to look 18 to 24 months out,
Okay.
because things will change, right? Like traditional barbershop, right? I was going to this barbershop when I had hair. I was going to a barbershop, and you know they just wanted to take cash, and I'm like, and I was telling the guy, I said, look, I could build you an app, where um, people can look and see who's available, what barber's available, is there somebody in the chair, what the wait time is. I said I could build you an app like that, because one of the things I didn't like was I come to barbershop and I'm waiting there 30, 40 minutes, or I have an appointment at a specific time and I get there and they're not ready. So one of the things I had proposed to the manager of the barbershop was, let's, we'll build you an app. I'll do it for free. Build you an app. So we'll have red, yellow, green. We can see if a barber's available. You can schedule it online. You can see if the people are waiting in the barbershop. So you can figure out a good time for you to come. And so just things like that. And also set it up where it accepts Square and PayPal and Cash App and
Hmm.
and Venmo and stuff like that. And they were a little bit resistant to that part of it, because they wanted to be a cash-based business. I'm like, guys,
You have to move and
not a
evolve.
lot of people don't really carry cash on them anymore. So make it convenient for your customer, and then your customer will bring other people. So that's what I'm saying is, understand your market, right? If your market is changing, are you adapting? Right? Are you adapting? If you're not adapting, you're gonna die. You know, look what happened to if people remember. I'm giving you my age. Montgomery Ward, right? They in Kmart, right? And Sears.
Mm.
They didn't adapt. They didn't adapt. That's why they're gone. They're gone because they did not adapt. They didn't look at the market and say, what is changing? How can I address this market? right? And even malls around the country are starting to figure out that they're doing the hybrid thing now, right? You can buy online, pick up in the store, right? So they have figured that out. They're adapting, right? And they're making you go into a mall now, it's like going in a museum. It's like, oh my God, this is, it might look like a city block, right? They're adapting because people want more. They just didn't want the traditional mall, right? Closed
Right.
in. So now you got these malls that part of it's closed in, part of it's open, stuff like that, right? So you got to adapt and change and understand that market. How is the market changing? Can I get ahead of it? Or can I change the market for that matter by what I'm offering? Can I change the market? So you gotta stay on top of it. You got to stay on top of it.
It's good. It's good. Do you think there are any challenges regarding catalyzing innovation? I think I said that correctly. Do you think there are any challenges
So
regarding?
yeah, so when you want to catalyze innovation, right? Yeah, there's some challenges there because you have to have a definition of what innovation is, right? So just you know adding a screen to a window, that may not be innovation. Still a window. It still opens, still closes, still does that. So you've got to figure out what the definition of innovation means to you, and then have regular ideation sessions, right? So one of the things we do, we'll sit around, toss some ideas, and no matter how outrageous it may seem, toss the idea up. And we give people a safe space to do that, Denise, right? To
Okay.
bring up their ideas. And there's no judgment. But one thing we do require is to put out your idea. How is it going to benefit a customer? What is the customer going to get out of this? Right. And then, if it's there, hey, let's innovate on it. And I'll tell the team, go run with it. Let's build a prototype or whatever. Let's see how it works. Let's test it with some customers. Let's go have a conversation with a customer and say, hey, would you be interested in this? Oh, yeah. No, we're not. So innovation has to be on purpose. It has to be
Okay.
on purpose, and you have to constantly look at how can we do things better? What can we offer? And those types of things. Keep it fresh, right? So,
I like that. What is a typical day in the life like of Troy Woods? What is a typical day like for you?
um, after I, oh, well, it's mostly all day of meetings, interacting with my team, interacting with customers, those types of things, looking at um, making sure our customers are healthy, making sure they have what they need, making sure, looking after my team, making sure. So I meet regularly with my team. I have one-on-ones with everyone. Hey, are you happy? How can I help you? What do you need? And those types of things. So that's what it is. And looking at the market, um, how are we performing? Pay attention to the finances, right? Constantly looking at expenses, but it's mostly like, how can we do better? So I have a Monday Madness call, what I call Monday Madness, and we get on and I do a round robin with everybody. Hey, what's going on? What can we do better? How did we do? What are our opportunities? And we go around those types of things, and we have an open and honest discussion. And nothing is hard for me to hear as long as it's the truth. And sometimes I get, hey, Troy, you know what? I don't like the way we did this, that, and the other, or I don't like this idea. I'm like, okay, tell me why. And then they'll explain to me, okay, that's valid. I see your point. you know, and so have those things. So everything has to be done with purpose and on purpose.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Do you have any personal goals or hobbies that
Retire.
you like to do, or hobbies that you like to do to
So,
relax?
well, I love to bowl, and the last month or two, I keep telling my wife I'm going bowling, but I haven't been yet. So I love bowling. I like sci-fi. Um,
Mm,
I love reading historical books, especially um, in different areas, Africa, South America, um, in Asia, in India, and reading those histories and things like that. So I'm very interested in that. So that helps me relax. And love jazz. Love jazz. When I was younger, I didn't like it, but I love it now.
yes.
It's so peaceful. So it's so innovative. And this is, I think this gets my juices flowing because it's so different. It's innovative, right? And they're constantly changing. And so I love those. I love those things. So that's pretty much what I do. And hanging out with my honeybee, love that woman.
That is a cute
Hanging out
name,
with the
Honeybee.
kids. Yeah, she's my honeybee. Love that woman.
Um, that was one of my next questions. I had like a whole bunch of notes here. Um, what are your top three best books that you recommend that you could tell the audience?
Okay, so for nonfiction, I think I recently read this book called uh, you're going to laugh when I say this, but it's called Jesus the Nazarene. And what it's about, it's actually about historical Jesus, not
Mm,
not biblical Jesus. It's by Reza Aslan, and it's quite good. It's quite good, and puts some things in perspective. My next nonfiction is Black Genesis, and it talks about Nabta, which is now in the Western Desert, and it's at least 12,000 years old, and it was a ceremonial place where Black Africans went. Um, you might have heard of the African Stonehenge, and they built it. They were tracking the procession of stars on the ground, and so that's that one. And then I love science fiction, so I read a lot of science fiction books and things like that. So it's just those. Those are. I will say the third top one is another historical book. It's called Imhotep, the African origins of the
could you
architect.
could you say that again?
Imhotep, the African origins of the Pharaoh's architect.
Thank
And
you.
so
Thank
yeah, so I love those kinds of books. And then the last one I'll put forward is called "What's Not Yours Is Not Yours," and and that one is very interesting. I recommend that one. It's African descent. I'm going to butcher her last name, Oselami.
you.
I'm probably butchering her last name, but it's called "What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours." And then in terms of a business book, there's one called The 12-Second Culture. So I recommend that book. Believe it or not, it's by a black NASCAR crew chief
Mm.
called The 12-Second Culture. I think that book provides some very interesting insights on what you can do, how you can build your culture with your company. So I do recommend that one wholeheartedly.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Troy Woods. It was an honor and pleasure meeting you and speaking with you. My husband talks so highly of you, and now I see why. And I hope that you and your wife and family have a blessed Christmas and New Year. I really, really
And
do.
you as well. I appreciate you taking time out your busy schedule. I feel honored and privileged. So thank you so much. And please tell BJ I said hey. And have a very blessed and awesome Christmas, New Year. And I pray that your program just explodes
Thank you.
into lots of success.
Thank you. Like I said, I do
So
understand it's a process and I'm just starting out. So, God willing, next year, God open doors and it will be better. Thank
yes,
you. Thank
it
you.
will. Just persevere and have that vision and execute on that vision and don't let anybody stop you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a wonderful episode of Entrepreneur Empire. Until next time, we do accept donations, sponsorships, and subscriptions. Thank you. Until the next episode, stay tuned. This has been a wonderful
Thank
experience
you.
with Mr. Troy Woods. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye bye.